Hey, what's up all you Instacart shoppers out there? I'm 𝗏𝗏, and this is the first entry into a series of videos in which I'll discuss how Instacart ratings work. In this video, I'm going to explain how Instacart calculates your customer rating. In part 2, I'll show you how to tell exactly when a low rating will fall off. Then we'll discuss how to get a low rating removed, whether Instacart's rating system is fair, and things you can do to get rated 5 stars as often as possible. But before we get started, I want to remind you that you can help support this channel by clicking on the various affiliate links in the description box or in my pinned comment. I only promote products and services that I use myself, so they all have my personal seal of approval. I'd much rather use affiliate links instead of Patreon so that you get something you can actually use and I get a referral fee, so it's a win-win. Now we've got that out of the way, let's talk about ratings. Your customer rating is based on a calculation method called the rolling 100 average. If you've ever heard the term FIFO, or first in, first out, it's based on this algorithm. Instacart tries to explain how it works under the How Am I Doing tab, but I think I can explain it better here. At any given time, your customer rating is based on the last 100 orders you've performed and the ratings they've received, including non-ratings. Every time you complete an order, the rating attached to the oldest order in the pool is replaced by the newest rating, and the average is recalculated. Pretty much every gig app determines their contractors' ratings using this rolling 100 method, but with Instacart, null ratings are included in the queue, whereas most other platforms go by the last 100 rated jobs. It's actually better this way since it helps cycle out low ratings much quicker. If you're still unclear on the concept, let me explain it to you with a visual aid. As you can see, I have 100 squares. Each square represents the 100 most recent orders and the rating they received. The square in the top left corner represents the newest order, and the square in the bottom right corner represents the oldest order. And yes, I do mean orders, not batches, because a batch can contain up to 3 orders. Every time you complete an order, each square moves one place to the right until it gets to the bottom right corner, at which point it's purged from the queue. This is why whenever you get a low rating, it seems to take forever for it to fall off because it has to make its way from the beginning all the way to the end, one order at a time. But we'll discuss that more in the next video. And speaking of ratings, the squares with the 5s obviously represent orders that were rated 5 stars, and the blank squares represent non-rated orders. No matter how good of a shopper you are, it's rare for more than 70% of your customers to rate you. I usually get about 2/3 of my customers to rate me. That's why there are 67 5 stars and 33 null ratings in this pool. Since we have all 5 stars in this queue, you don't have to do any math to know that this represents a perfect 5.0 rating. But let's replace one of those 5 stars with a 4-star rating. That means we now have 66 5 stars, 1 4-star, and 33 non-rated orders. Instacart does the math for you, but if you want to do it yourself, it's pretty easy to calculate. First, we multiply 66 by 5, which gives us 330. Then we add 4 to bring it up to 334. Since we have 67 total rated orders, we divide 334 by 67 and we get 4.985, but Instacart rounds it up to 4.99, which is still an excellent rating. Now, let's see what happens when we replace that 4-star with a 1-star. The calculation method is the same. 66 times 5 equals 330, plus 1 is 331, divided by 67 equals 4.94, which in most zones is an average or below average rating. I had this rating last week, and the quality of batches, or lack thereof, was definitely noticeable. I made about 20% less money with a 4.94 rating than I did with a 4.99 rating. This is why it's so important to provide your customers with great service so that you earn a 5-star rating as much as possible. It's also why, in my opinion, you should outright ask your customers to rate you 5 stars. And yes, you can do this. It doesn't break any rule to ask for a 5-star rating. I made an entire video debunking this myth that we're not allowed to ask customers to rate us, so check that out because I'm not going to rehash it here. Something I didn't mention in the last segment is that you actually need 2 low ratings for your average to drop below 5 because the oldest rating is automatically forgiven, which means it's not counted, but it's not purged either. A forgiven rating still has to go through its own cycle of 100 orders before it falls off completely. You could say there's a forgiven queue, but it can only hold 1 rating at a time. If this is confusing, let me give you a few examples. So example number 1, you have all 5-star ratings and you receive a 4-star. It's not a big deal because the 4-star is forgiven. You complete 88 more orders and receive another 4-star or something worse. The original 4-star is then counted as part of the pool of 100 until 12 more orders are completed and it cycles out. However, the newest non-5-star rating remains in the forgiving queue until 100 more orders after it are completed. If a worse rating is received before it falls off, the cycle starts all over again. Example number 2, you receive a 2-star rating. You're still at 5.0, but then a day or two later, someone rates you 4. The 2-star is still forgiven because it's the lowest active rating, but the 4 is counted as part of the rolling 100 average. Once the 2-star is purged, the 4-star is then forgiven since it's now the lowest rating, assuming nothing worse was received. And since these two low ratings were received so close together, they will also cycle out close together. Example number 3, you receive a 4-star rating, then a week later you receive a 1-star rating, then a few weeks later you receive a 2-star rating. At this point, the 1-star would be forgiven, but the 4 and the 2 would still be counted as part of the pool of 100 until they complete the cycle. So the key takeaway from this is that a forgiven rating can be unforgiven if something equal or worse is received before it can complete the 100 order cycle. Since it's impossible to please all the people all the time, it's quite common to have a forgiven rating and at least one low rating at all times. A single active 4-star rating won't hurt too much, but multiple ratings of 1, 2, or 3 will definitely cause your average to plummet, along with your earnings. Now I know what you're thinking. How do I know when these low ratings will fall off? Instacart doesn't give us that information. Believe it or not, you actually can tell exactly when a low rating will cycle out if you keep track of all your orders. I know that sounds like a lot of work, but it's actually quite easy if you have the right tools. Fortunately for you, I have spreadsheets for sale on my website that you can use to track all your batches and specifically low-rated orders. You'll know exactly how many more orders you need to complete before any non-5-star order cycles out. I'll show you how to use these trackers in the next video, so be sure to check that out. I hope this video helped explain how the rolling 100 average works. It's one of the most commonly asked questions by newbies, and it always drove me crazy that the Sh0ppr app doesn't do a great job of explaining it. If you're still confused, let me know in the comments and hopefully I can answer any questions you might have. Like I said, this is just the first part in a series of videos about Instacart ratings. I'll have links to future chapters in the description box and at the end of this video. In fact, they might be right here in front of me right now. As always, if you watch all the way to the end, you are awesome. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next installment. Bye.